She used her beauty and intelligence to plan the perfect crime. But little did she know, her end would be far more gruesome than she ever imagined. Elham, a 35-year-old science graduate from a modest family, was stunningly beautiful and academically brilliant. Many suitors proposed to her, but she turned them all down because her heart belonged to her college colleague Selim. After graduation, she asked him to propose. Despite his financial struggles, he agreed. He loved her deeply. She pressured her family until they approved, and she decided to work to help Selim with the wedding expenses. She took jobs in pharmacies and pharmaceutical companies. Selim also found work at a drug company. But as the financial burden grew, he couldn't even afford a down payment for an apartment. On top of that, his mother's illness drained everything he earned. After 2 years of engagement and no progress, Selim confessed to Elham that he still had a long way to go before he could build a life. He told her not to waste her youth on a path with no clear future. Despite her insistence, he decided to travel abroad, hoping to improve his circumstances. After 8 years of love, they parted ways, completely out of touch. Years passed. Many eligible men proposed to Elham, especially since she had a stable job and promising future. But she didn't care for them, until she met Dr. Wagdi. Wagdi, a 38-year-old medical lab owner and co-owner of a major hospital, was wealthy, previously married, and unable to have children. When he learned Elham was single again, he proposed without delay. He was honest with her from the beginning. She accepted his proposal. He gave her a luxurious apartment in an upscale neighborhood and even bought her a car. He took her with him to work so she wouldn't feel bored. Elham was living the life of her dreams. After 2 years of marriage, she asked Wagdi to open a private lab under her name, completely independent from him. He agreed. While posting a job ad for her new lab, she was shocked to find Selim, her former love, applying for the position, unaware the lab was hers. They talked. She learned he had returned from an unsuccessful stint abroad and remained unmarried. She offered him a job. He initially refused, but she insisted. Eventually, he agreed. As they worked together daily, old feelings resurfaced. The emotional bond rekindled, and their relationship turned physical. Elham was overjoyed. She even told Selim she wanted to divorce Wagdi so they could marry. But Selim refused. He said nothing had changed. He still had nothing to offer. Even if she left her husband, he couldn't marry her. Besides, she'd lose everything: the lab, the car, the luxury. Elham was torn. She couldn't stay with a man she no longer loved, but couldn't give up her glamorous life. Eventually, she shared a terrifying idea with her lover. She wanted to get rid of her husband, inherit his wealth, and then marry Selim. Selim was alarmed. He told her it was far too dangerous, but she reassured him. Wagdi had no close family, only a brother living in America, and she had a perfect plan. She even knew of a rare poison she'd worked with at a pharmaceutical company. Tasteless, symptomless, and untraceable unless an autopsy was ordered. She finalized every detail. On the day of the murder, Elham prepared lunch and laced her husband's meal with poison. After eating, he felt severe stomach pain and collapsed. Once she confirmed he was dead, she called Selim over. Together, they moved the body to the bed to make it look like he had died in his sleep. Selim left with the poisoned food to dispose of it discreetly. Elham then called a doctor she knew, pretending her husband had suddenly fallen unconscious. When the doctor arrived, he examined the body and immediately noticed a faint bluish tinge around the mouth. Elham, feigning panic, told him it must be due to oxygen deficiency, that he had eaten and fallen asleep, only to suddenly wake up struggling to breathe. and then fell silent forever. The doctor knew that Elham's husband suffered from asthma, so he didn't suspect anything unusual when he died. Elham, in tears, begged the doctor not to drag her husband through hospital procedures, claiming his death was simply fate. Unfortunately, the doctor believed her and issued a burial permit, and the husband was buried without further questioning. But the shock came soon after. During the inheritance proceedings, Elham was stunned to discover that her husband had left a will, granting her all his possessions. In it, he declared his deep love for her and expressed his gratitude that she had given up motherhood for his sake. He had written the will just 1 year after their marriage. Elham felt a pang of guilt, but it quickly vanished when she remembered her lover. After her mourning period ended, Selim asked to marry her, but she refused. Any move they made now would be under scrutiny, and the doctor who signed the burial certificate might grow suspicious. So their secret affair continued for a full year before they finally got married. From that moment, everything changed. Selim transformed into a completely different man. He took full control of the labs, the business projects, and the bank accounts. Little by little, he erased Elham's identity. He persuaded her to quit her job and focus solely on him. At first, she was happy, thinking he had become responsible. She played the role of the obedient wife, waiting each night to serve him dinner. But soon, she noticed Selim becoming distant. She barely saw him. When she asked to return to work, he refused. One day, bored and frustrated, she went to the lab without telling him. There, the lab manager stopped her, saying, "Doctor, Selim was busy." When Elham protested, the manager kicked her out in front of everyone. And then came the real shock. Someone told her that this manager was Selim's fiancé. In disbelief, Elham demanded answers. Selim appeared and took her to his office, scolding her for leaving the house without his permission. She shouted at him, demanding he fire the manager, and reminded him that everything, the office, the money, belonged to her. Their voices rose in anger. Back home, the confrontation escalated. Selim coldly told her he had every right to marry a woman who wasn't divorced. Elham lost control and accused him of trying to remarry using her money. But he laughed and said, "That's not your money. That's your late husband's money, the one you got rid of." She demanded a divorce, saying he had nothing. No labs, no hospitals, no bank accounts. But Selim had one last blow. He reminded her that she had given him full legal power of attorney, and he had transferred everything to his own name. Elham was devastated. Selim told her she had only two choices: obey him and stay, or leave with nothing but a bag of clothes. That night, she made her decision. She would get rid of him, just as she had done with her first husband. But Selim had become cautious. He no longer ate or drank anything from home. To him, the house was just a place to sleep. So Elham changed strategy. She apologized, got close to him again, and told him the truth. She had killed her first husband because of how much she loved Selim. He appeared to believe her, but he still didn't trust her. Even during meals, he made her eat first. Then came the night before his wedding to his new fiancée. Elham prepared dinner and laced it with poison. She sat with him, took a bite first, and he followed. Minutes later, he began to feel a searing pain in his stomach. He looked at her, horrified. She smiled and said, "I poisoned your food for betraying me." He shouted, "But you ate it too." She replied bitterly, "I lost myself loving a lowlife like you, and I was ready to die, just to watch you suffer." Selim writhed in agony until he died right in front of her. At that moment, Elham called for an ambulance, claiming she was sick. When the medic arrived, she opened the door and collapsed. Both were rushed to the hospital. Selim was declared dead. Elham was treated and survived. The hospital administration notified the authorities. Forensics tested the food and found it laced with poison. Elham confessed to everything. The court sentenced her to death. But before the sentence was carried out, she suffered a severe mental breakdown and was transferred to a psychiatric hospital. This story comes from psychiatric case files. Elham was once a woman consumed by love, living like a queen with a man who adored her. But greed blinded her, and she betrayed him for her lover, a man who would become her greatest betrayal. In the end, she lost everything: her husband, her lover, and her freedom. Her final destination was Abbasia Psychiatric Hospital,